For most people, thinking better thoughts, visualizing, wanting something, these common things people teach in the law of attraction, maybe documentaries we watched, they actually block people from attracting what they want. It does more harm than good because it keeps people in a lack state. It keeps people feeling stuck. It keeps people in a paradigm that says, I'm broken, there's something wrong with me, my life isn't currently good enough. And because of that, they stay stuck in that reality and in that vibrational state of consciousness. Now, there's another way that if you go about it, and if you apply what I share with you in this video, it will completely transform your life and allow you to embody who you came here to be and be that identity to where it is natural for you to have those things. Because think about it, if we really, really want something, is there something you've really, really wanted before? Maybe it was someone, maybe it was a person to go on a date with somebody. Maybe it was a job that you were applying for. Maybe it was a house. I'm currently in the process of buying a new house, so I'm moving out of this one in the next month. And when I was looking at this house and I knew I wanted it, I realized that if I was going to put it on a pedestal and really want it, it was not natural for my identity. So I actually had to let go of the outcome. And that's when everything changes. So what happens is the more we want, the more we desire, the more we were just visualizing it and implying this reality isn't good enough. And the more we think better thoughts, the more we are bypassing our own identity shift. So this is the power of what I want to talk to you about in this video, and the power of what I think will completely transfer your life if you apply it. So first off, realize that in life in general, and something Dr. Wayne Dyer said a long time ago, is we don't necessarily get in life that which we want. And that's something I talk about in a lot of my older videos, because what we want, we lack. However, we always get a reflection of who we are being. So our reality is a direct reflection of who we are being and how we are showing up in the world. So when people focus on thinking better thoughts and all of these things, it's like an aspect of it, but it is such a small part of it. Because beyond thinking, we are not just what we think. We are who we are being. And part of who we are being includes the emotions that we feel, the actions we are taking, the self-image that we have, and our level of presence. Our level of being present. And I'd say that very often is a missing key with people's manifestations. As they focus on the surface, they focus on getting something, and all during that time, what they are implying is this reality isn't good enough already. Where I am is not good enough. And if we put out the vibration that says where I am is not good enough, guess what? We are locked in a frequency of a reality that says that. So then by the time, it's almost like the things we would want, we literally block out of our life because we keep telling ourselves energetically, it's not here yet. Think about that. Like the vibration of you being the ideal version of you. Imagine the version of you that is in the perfect relationship, that is working and doing what you love for a living, is with your family or with your pets or doing whatever you want. That version of you, imagine how that version of you thinks, feels, acts. What is the body language like of that version of you? That version of you is a different version of you than the version of you that feels in those suffering patterns, that feels like things aren't happening right, because they're different vibrational frequencies. Think about it like the radio station. A radio station at one station cannot perceive of what's on a different station if it stays there. But the key is to realize that your dial can change like this when you make a new choice about who you are. So in my own life, I've used this in many ways, and I've shared them on my channel before, but just to give it a little bit of a quick filler on that, the first time I used this was working at Nordstrom's and Women's Shoes. I changed my self-image and saw myself as a top salesperson, and I started being the top salesperson. I literally started greeting every customer because I thought about this. The full-time, or the version of Aaron that is the top salesperson is greeting every customer, is it doesn't just bring out one shoe, because I was a shoe salesperson. That version of me doesn't just bring out the shoe they ask for. I bring out 2 or 3 other options. I started to embody that version of me. And within just a couple of days, I started to consistently rank as one of the top people in that department. Because I changed my self-image. And I embodied it. I didn't just change my inner self-image, I embodied it. And then for years, I was selling women's shoes because I self-sabotaged myself and didn't believe that I could make videos on YouTube. I had all these patterns of like procrastination. And those are all, by the way, safety mechanism. Procrastination, perfectionism, not feeling worthy enough. These are all ways we sabotage ourselves to keep us in the thinking a better thought mentality and keeping us in our old ways of being, our old identity, because our old ways of being feel familiar. Familiar. The word familiar is family, is pretty much kind of family, right? Famil, which is probably some Italian root suffix for to be in family or something, right? And familiar emotions, familiar ways of thinking, feeling, and acting, a lot of times people are trapped in a mentality that feels very familiar to the patterns of when they were growing up. And I know this because I've experienced this in many ways, and also I've seen it in so many, like hundreds, if not thousands of people that I've worked with. I've seen this pattern. And you can normally bring it back down to a certain childhood dynamic. For me, for a long time, I had the abusive ex-stepmom in my life. So therefore, I attracted specifically women that were trying to control me. Even after my ex-stepmom left my life at 15 and I never had to see her again. Why? Because there was a familiar energy there. I would find myself attracting people like that. And the key is becoming aware of that familiar pattern and then choosing to let it go. Getting out of the familiar, having the courage to step into the unknown, having the courage to set boundaries with someone. You know, it's interesting. I think about this when I worked at Nordstrom's. I had a manager that was the same personality as my ex-stepmom. And she got away with everything because she was protected by upper management. So she would talk down to people. She made people cry. And all of us in the department just kind of allowed it to happen, because if we were to go to HR, we would then get punished more. Same thing with my ex-stepmom. If something happened in the house and we said something, if we were to say something to my dad or anyone else, we'd get punished even more. Very similar energy. However, there was this one guy, I forget his name, I think it was Ronald or Ray or something. He worked in the department for about 2 weeks. He then got sat down after 2 weeks with this lady, and she started talking down to him the way that she talked down to all of us. And she started doing that, and he literally looked at her, and I think he called her a name, but he was like, pretty much basically was like, you don't talk to me like this. I don't give a shit who you are. I don't care if you're the manager. You don't talk to people like this. And he got up and he quit and he left. And what was interesting is he had a pattern where he would not even allow someone in his reality that was treating him that way. So he left. He said, this is not how I am treated. And he walked out and he quit the job. But all the other 9, 10 people in our department or 12 people in our department stayed there. It was part of our familiar pattern. I wonder if every one of us had some form of energy to where we allowed that, because otherwise it would move out. Now here's the crazy thing. What then ended up happening is in 2012, I went through a spiritual awakening. I started to become aware of a lot of these beliefs I had that was keeping me stuck in my old reality. I had a belief I had ADHD. I felt a lot of shame for it. I was taking Adderall for it. I then started to question it, and I started to reframe it and realize I just have a lot of energy. I then realized that I had this controlling woman dynamic in my life, and I realized that was so similar to my ex-stepmom. So I actually went through a process of forgiving my ex-stepmom. And as I forgave her, and as I let it go, guess what happened? For 5 years, for literally 3 years that I worked at an apartment, we tried getting that lady fired. We couldn't because she was protected by upper management. Within weeks of me healing on the inside and forgiving my ex-stepmom, she got fired for something really stupid. That was way less as bad as all the other stuff we tried getting her fired for. But it's like when you go through and you heal these patterns in yourself, people will then leave your life that do no longer resonate with that because who you are being has changed. And there was this one video that I remember watching before I started making daily videos. I realized, and I heard a quote from somebody. It said, to do what you love full time, you have to treat it as your full time and embody it before it is your full time. Think about that. So you have to become the kind of person, you have to become that person and treat it as if this is my reality before it actually becomes your dominant reality. So what I did is I started making those daily videos on YouTube back in 2017. And in 2017, every single day I made a video because the full-time YouTuber version of Aaron, as a full-time YouTuber, that's what I do. It's an end of itself. That's who I am. And I started to embody that version of me. And within 2 or 3 weeks, my whole entire life began to change. Videos started going viral. They started ranking. And within 4 or 5 months, I put in my 2 weeks and I never had to go back to that 9-to-5 job again and never will. And the thing with this is I embodied it now. A big part of this video that I think will shift everything for you is you giving yourself permission to be the person you prefer to be. I gave myself permission to make daily videos. And I could have said, well, once I make 20 videos, then I'll be okay. I started from the identity. You don't have to have the external reality change before you internally change. You don't have to have the art studio, all the paintbrushes, every color you can imagine. You don't have to have validation from other artists for you to be an artist. You just have to decide, I am an artist. Think about that too. That's pretty much all. Like you look at Kobe Bryant, one of the best of all time, right? Him or Michael Jordan. Their identity shifted and they just claimed and owned it and said, I'm the best in their mind. They saw themselves as a champion. And they then shifted. You can look at, I'm not comparing myself to Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, but there was a time in my life when I just decided I'm giving myself permission to make videos. I'm going to be passionate about what I have to say, and I made that identity shift. I decided I chose to be it, to embody it. And what I'd like for you to do, to where in 3 to 6 months from now, you come back to this video and you commented and you say, this changed everything for me. What I'd like for you to do is to reverse engineer your future self. Look at that identity version of you using your imagination. How do you think, feel, and act? And then what you can do is as you look how you think, feel, and act, choose to embody that version of you. Give yourself permission to be it and make sure it's something that's connected to your heart. Because the electromagnetic energy of your heart is thousands of times more powerful than the head. And when I was making videos, I was in my passion. And that's an aspect of it. And you try and you figure this out by doing different things. But what I'd love for you to do is to reverse engineer your future self and to realize that you choose to be it starting today. What is one thing you can do every single day that will change your life the most over the next 3 to 6 months? And then do it. Commit to it. Be it. Don't just do it. Don't be like Nike and do it. We are in a new paradigm now where it is all about being it. You are meant to be the identity you came here to be, the most authentic self. You're meant to embody that you right now. And I recently came out with something, it's a free PDF on the 3-step process of transformation of embodying this higher vibrational you, showing you step by step exactly what to do plus how to raise your vibration. And if you haven't seen it yet, you can click the link below, download that PDF, and follow the process I'm talking about because it will make all the difference in the world. And when you begin to embody it, you begin to be it, it changes everything. Now, another important part of this process of embodiment is something that I have applied in my life that I learned from my shadow work integration coach. It is called the frame technique. When you start embodying this energy, it will change everything about you. And all it has you do is you go into your body, feel in your hands and your feet, and you do this technique, and you will notice people treat you differently, you feel differently, setting boundaries is easier, and it's called the frame technique. So if you haven't seen that yet, listen to this video, listen to this meditation, and watch how it changes your life. Over the last 6 months, My whole entire energy has changed in a very positive and powerful way from the way that it used to be. And I believe it has to do with this technique that I'm about to share with you that I believe will